Are you still contemplating relocating to the Tampa St. Pete market, but you have children and you're trying to figure out schools and the ratings and which schools are best and how to figure it all out, because that will also determine what area you land in. So today I'm actually meeting some good friends of mine at St. Pete Beach. They're having a market day over here on Corey Avenue, and we decided to get together so that we can talk a little bit more about the school systems and the ratings and all the things that you may need to know. My two friends have been school teachers for over 25 years, so I figured let's go to the source. So let's get after it right now. Hey, future Floridians, I'm Emily. I'm a licensed real estate agent here in the state of Florida, and I live in the Tampa St. Pete area. And this channel is dedicated to all things living, working, playing, sleeping, eating, and especially the real estate market here in the central west coast of Florida. So if that resonates with you, really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button or the notification bell or both. Even a thumbs up, really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave a comment below if you have a question or something to add. And as always, as I've mentioned before, I'm a relocation specialist. So if you're looking to relocate to our area, hit me up. I'm here for you. All my links are below. Jump on my calendar. Let's have that conversation and get to it. Hey everybody, so I'm sitting here today on Corey Avenue. Is it Corey Avenue? Yeah. Corey Street? Corey Avenue. Wind is blowing everything around. Excuse my voice. I've got allergies and frog in my throat, but I'm gonna let these guys do a lot of talking. This is my very good friend from high school, one of my dearest friends, Leah, and this is her boyfriend, Alex, and we all went to school in Tampa. More importantly, they have over 25 years experience being teachers, so I thought it would probably be easier to answer a lot of your questions by sitting down and just talking to them today. So, and what better way to do it than outside in St. Pete Beach. So, all right, so let's get started. So let's talk about the first question I've got for you guys. When you know, as I've talked to a lot of you and a lot of other people have these questions, when you're starting to look at relocating to Tampa and St. Pete and you're trying to figure out schools for your kids, you know, what is something you guys can help these people try to do first? What's some of the research they can do? Is there websites they can go to? If you guys had to do it all over again, where would you start?
I mean, I don't have specific ones to quote. That being said, because there's so much information on the web, there really is.
So do you think like greatschools.org is a good resource?
I think there's so many variables that there's no one-stop shopping like Amazon, as it were, for schools. The biggest thing you have to do is, once you decide on the neighborhood, is to visit the schools in particular. And it's no coincidence that the more affluent the neighborhood, typically the better schools, because they have more opportunity for parental involvement. And many of these schools, even grandparents have gone to. So you have multi-generational involvement, and there's a lot more, I don't know if pride is the right word, but a lot more buy-in.
Yeah, buy-in I think is a good word. So like if people were trying to figure out whether they wanted to put their kid in public school, charter, or private, and let's say they were sort of looking at certain neighborhoods, you know, again, is it's a big question in Hillsborough County in particular, because many of the charter students, or many students have gone the charter route, so as a result, many schools are underutilized. So as a result, they don't want to have a school with only 30% enrollment or 50% enrollment. It's a money drain. So that's still in flux, and obviously moving people's school that they anticipate, you move into a neighborhood thinking you go to XYZ school, and all of a sudden they change the boundaries. Right. That's a giant upheaval. So I think the district, at least Hillsborough County, is punting right now and going to postpone it for a year or so. Oh, really?
Yeah.
When you mean postpone it, meaning they're going to kind of maybe do away with the whole...
Well, not do
away. There's just some shifts and changing that's happening.
The original plan was, let's do this right now. And now they basically want to grandfather it in. So because let's say you bought a house and you expect your student to go to ABC high school or elementary school, and all of a sudden you're going to a different school, that causes issues.
Right, especially with commuting and that sort of thing. So.
Well, yeah. And in the news recently, there was a big, so if you're coming to the South Tampa area, of course, Plant has held its reputation.
Yes, Plant High School. Everybody wants to be there.
To the point where proposals for this upcoming year and the following caused a lot of parents to show up and voice their opinions.
And we're talking only moving 200 kids.
Oh,
but
really?
they were vocal enough to they had
Strong
to
force.
they had to pump the brakes.
Huh.
They really did, yeah. Because at the end of the day, parents run the show. I mean, like it or not, because you'll get someone who's has time and money on their hands will run for the school board, and you're out of luck, pal. That's just the reality of it.
Okay, so how do you feel about public schools in the Tampa area in general, Tampa St. Peter? I know we can't really talk too much about Tampa because they're in Hillsborough County, but from a Hillsborough County perspective, how do you feel about the public schools overall?
I think there's, like anything else, there's some areas that are stronger than others, some better leadership, more involvement, whether parental or community-wise.
On that note, I totally agree with him. I think even if you're in a school that might be rated lower, you can't let that be your only judge. Because like at a school, like Blake High School.
She teaches at Blake High School.
Yes. And Alex is there now too.
Yes.
But we have a performing arts component and we have a traditional program. But year to year, it will shift with the involvement. We have the involvement. It could come from one side of the school versus the other, like the different programs, but that's okay because that's parents showing up and being involved. That's parents asking questions. I really feel, because I've worked in inner city schools the entire time, that even though we're lacking that parental involvement because we have parents that are working 2 to 3 jobs.
Right.
And they can't be
based
there.
on the location of where
And
Blake
because
is.
of the magnet component, you have kids that pass 10 high schools on the way there. So let's say you live, Blake, for example, is in downtown. Because on the river.
Downtown Tampa.
So let's say you live in Riverview or Wesley Chapel.
we have
Or,
kids
anyway,
that do
let's say essentially you're taking a 2-hour bus ride. So the student clearly wants to be there.
Right.
The parent maybe can't help as much because they're geographically distanced.
Exactly.
So it's really up to the child at that point to stay as involved as they can, right?
For sure.
Well, and I think it depends on, so every
And then
family
we're
is going to be
talking
different.
high school, of course. So
There's no one size. You're going to have some children that speak to you, and that's their love language of where they want to go. They're telling you how to guide that compass. Go get involved because, Mom, I want to be in music. Well, you're okay. We might be that school that seeks, you sought us out. But I personally interviewed children that have said, and you thinking, you have been commuting for 2+ hours during this day. But when you have a child look at you and go, yeah, but Miss, when I get here, I have maybe just 5 friends I'm really close involved with, but I'm with all these people that are doing like-minded things.
I'm
Similar.
with my people.
Yeah.
with my people, and they like obviously the curriculum or whatever their focus is.
Yeah.
Like for example, if I was in high school, I'd love to play guitar half the day.
Yeah.
Or sing or dance or whatever, or draw.
Write plays or whatever.
You name it. So it makes the 2-hour commute or whatever. It makes it much more acceptable because you're going to be.
Yes.
You have a connection.
Doing your thing.
You're vested. The other cool thing about that is, so on a magnet component, if there is a magnet piece, you have a contract basically to follow. So you're not going to keep all students if they're not buying into what we're about. So you have a buy-in, and if maybe that school's not for them and they're not doing their part, there's a conversation, there's a warning, and you're on a new direction, which is great for the people that have invested.
Another school that works for them.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right?
or their neighborhood school.
Their
For
neighborhood
the neighborhood school.
And there's also other options. There's private. There's schools that are private that are, some are religious based,
Yes.
like Jesuit Academy. Some may have but then again, there are plenty of kids who are non-denominational or Jewish, or whatever I went to high school with. It's not like they force it on you. It's just a part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
Right.
There's some that are less, they're private but less religious component, like Tampa Prep, Berkeley Prep. So there's that. There's the charter component that we
I was
discussed
going to say,
earlier.
let's talk about the charter schools because that's something that I've been getting asked a lot
They
about.
are essentially publicly funded but run like private schools.
Okay.
So they don't have the same governmental umbrella in terms of maybe
restrictions,
they don't,
or something?
maybe the they don't have to have the same testing components.
Right.
I don't know. Quite frankly, I don't know enough about it. I know that's not what you want to hear.
That's okay. But it's another option if people don't have the money for private school.
Right.
And they're still going to get a good education.
And as a result, some of them require parental involvement. So there's more buy-in.
Most of them do. And that's the piece.
On the charter side.
On the charter
correct.
side. So back to even whether you're picking a public school or a charter school or private, parent involvement, community involvement, student involvement in other ways besides the classroom are all strong points to make a school excel that you don't just see on rating.
Okay, so that's a really good point, because as you look online, especially if you go to like greatschools.org and you see these ratings, those ratings are they mainly based on the testing? So they don't really give you the big overarching view of the school. So you really can't judge a school on that rating.
It started about 20 years ago, and it's a very simplistic way to measure school success by just essentially scores. There's much more to it than test scores. However, it's no shock that, if you are fluent and your child is not doing well, you can pay for tutoring or extra help. Whereas in another situation where mom is working 2 jobs and just trying to keep afloat, you don't have that opportunity. But
right. But somebody like that, could they still succeed in a charter school?
Oh, for sure,
Okay.
for sure. And I think
Charter and public, and I mean
right.
all schools.
I think
yes.
even with charter, the difference with charter schools in many cases is basically you're coming to us, and if things don't work out, you got to go.
Right.
Whereas in some other scenarios,
Like in maybe more than public school.
right, obviously private school, obviously if you
There's
act the
rules
fool,
and-
and charter is not much different. It's basically a publicly funded but quasi-private run
Right.
operation.
Because I know a lot of people that did send their children to charter schools.
And they're great.
They're great.
awesome.
And those aren't run by districts. You can go to any charter school, can't you?
You deal with waiting lists.
Oh, that's right. Waiting
Okay,
lists.
so like
forgot about that.
some of the kids that even,
I don't know about
Oh, yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I mean, there's supply and demand,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
when you find a charter school you like, a lot of the people in your community like it too, and they're waiting.
Yeah.
So that's just
I've been telling people to, if you already have figured out that charter's the way you want to go, get on the waiting list.
Yeah.
For certain.
Yeah.
And then you can just determine the area once you figure out which of the charter schools and what areas suit you best. If we're talking about, and I know you guys can't really speak to areas, schools areas, that's a big question. But if you had to do it all over again, their kids are grown. Are there certain areas you might have decided differently to maybe live in, to go, or did that have a factor in your choosing schools?
Okay.
She has 3 children, so a lot of decisions to make.
Going from married life to single life, when my children were choosing high school and being a teacher myself, I was a little limited on the decisions I could make.
Right.
Chamberlain at the time, back when I was in school, was thriving, and the parent involvement was amazing.
Yes.
A lot of things changed. So would I have done that differently? Yes, I think I would have. Or would I have been in that area, and then if I had more time on my hands, or the freedom to do that, I would have been probably the person promoting parent involvement.
Right.
So I do believe that sometimes you could pick that area you really want to live in and be the change. I'm a believer in that.
That's a really good
But it comes with a strong force, and it comes with, again, you telling this very, public education, sadly, we are understaffed with the amount of dollars that want to support. We have, in Hillsborough County, we have gone 3 years without a raise.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so
I realize that.
we know that money talks. And if you want to support programs and you want to put the dollars and backing into it, amazing things happen, because that support is needed in any entity.
And so the parent involvement, and obviously the kids really engaging.
And community involvement, not just parent. And so in
yeah.
some inner city schools where parent involvement may be limited, it's really big to have business partnerships and other connections. So you can Google that information too. You can see on social network and the conversation of specific schools, and you can join those conversations. You can join those platforms and get a real clear shot of what's going on.
Let me ask you this. If you could have, would you have put them in charter?
I think it would depend on who the skill sets my kids have, what that charter school offers. Same as a public school that brings in other specialty programs, even if it's not magnet. There's some STEM programs that bring an added piece of this specific thing that your child wants to study. All of that exists. We're one of the largest districts.
Right.
So there are so many options available. Yes, the research is needed, but the research is out there.
So maybe, here's what I'm starting to hear a little bit. Maybe it's not so much worrying about finding the best school, then finding the area. It sounds to me like you actually can find the area that you love, and there's some school options within that area.
I totally believe.
They've gone out of their way now to basically every school has a something, whether it's magnet, whether it's STEM, like you mentioned. Every school has like something to sell. So I think the first thing, because there's great schools everywhere, and there's going to be some schools that aren't so great. That's just the bottom line. But I think that, let's say in Hillsborough County, let's say you choose North Tampa,
like Wesley Chapel.
Yeah. Let's say West Chase.
Riverview?
Going east, South Riverview, South Tampa in the center. Going eastward, like Strawberry Crest. Yeah, Brandon, Fish Hawk, all that stuff. So I think the first thing is to pick the neighborhood, and you'll find the schools you like.
Well,
there's successful schools everywhere.
On that note, for the public school system, if you're in an area and your school is not up to rating, you have ability to reach out on a hardship case. So like my daughter did that. She started at Chamberlain. Her twin brother stayed there. He was happy with his upper level classes and the small group of friends he had. She wanted change. She hardshiped herself into a different school. Found her transportation because she knew mom was going to work at another school and made it happen.
So she had to apply for this hardship?
She did. Okay. And sometimes depending on enrollment, that's not available. My oldest daughter, when that was her time, it was not available at Gaither. When the next one comes along, after she had a year and wanted change and divide from her brother, it was available. She got hard shipped in. She found her transportation and she made it happen.
You often saw this in athletics because kids want to go to the powerhouse programs. That they stopped all that because all the cheating, the nonsense that was happening. As a 17-year former coach, I can tell you that was, your players get stolen or they want to go to a different program.
Right, they get recruited out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so what they started is if the school has room and you can get your kid there, we'll take you.
Okay.
So there's only some schools that are overpopulated, like a Plant, maybe in South Tampa.
Steinbrenner is still.
What's the Fish Hawk, perhaps?
Fish Hawk, Bloomingdale.
Yeah, that area.
Mm-hmm.
So they've kind of accommodated that because there's no way you can put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Right.
So they do it with some constraints, but at the end of the day, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you make enough of a fuss, they don't want to hear it. Okay. They're going to acquiesce. And I can't speak for a fact, but that's after 28 years of seeing it, that's generally the way it works.
Well, so I did have a client ask me because she had one child that's going more on the engineering side and one child that's going more the theater arts side.
Yeah, sure.
And there's one school over here and one school over here. Like, is that pretty normal?
We have homes. Often. We have homes where there's been families that have, 3 kids, and they're all going. 3 kids in high school going to 3 different schools.
Sure.
Yes. Okay. So that's not abnormal.
No.
Oh no.
By definition, a magnet school is an attractor, but they've tried to make every school have some type of attractor
to it.
Component,
yes.
Whether it's science and math, whether it's not so much athletics, but there's something for everyone.
Right.
Therefore,
whatever their interests are.
I think that the neighborhood would go first. Like what part of town you want to live in, and then you'll find good schools everywhere.
Well, that sounds, I think we've answered all the questions just with that.
No.
And be involved.
Be involved. I think that's what's really cool. But when we went to high school and our parents were involved, and it meant the world.
And my new thing is, if the parents are too busy and grandparents are still around, get grandparents involved. Get someone in the neighborhood. Anybody. You can recruit involvement, and the school should. And here's the other thing: if you question that and you arrive, and then your first visit, your feeling is, I don't feel welcomed.
On that,
let's just go back to basics because I want to feel welcomed and I want to at least have a conversation.
And let's go back to that because we were talking about that before we started recording about obviously, and I don't have children, that's why I asked a lot of these questions, is that, it is a normal thing to go visit these schools. You have to go visit these schools.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk to them and do the tour.
Feel the vibe, yeah.
And here's the deal. With safety being a number one concern, some of that, unfortunately, for the protection of your child, has to change.
Has changed.
So it has changed and is going to stay change. But if you can't make an appointment or have a day that, is welcome to that, well, that's another discussion. But obviously, there have been restrictions because our number one right now, because there's no learning that can take place if we don't feel safe.
Right.
So And if you go to a school and you don't see that, that's a huge concern. And please report it and move forward. But yeah, that's just a real deal thing.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think you guys have answered all my questions. I really appreciate you.
But like I said,
Doing
there's
this with
so
me
much
today.
information out there.
Yeah, there's a lot
I know
of
you can be
information.
inundated, but you know, and I know there's blogs available. And I know you're going to list some things.
I'll list some links that I know that other people have used that have told me.
Yeah, and we
about.
can send you some of that as well.
Yeah, send me
but yeah, that's a lot.
Again, I think if nothing else, the order operation should be
Oh, I
where
will
do you
add
want to
one more.
live? Because once you decide that geographical component, everything else can fall into place.
Right.
I will.
And most importantly, your child's interests.
Exactly.
You know, you don't want to, just because we live in XYZ neighborhood, go to the school if your kid really wants to go somewhere else.
Or like go to a Blake where they're going to have more of a theater arts
and
background.
in many
and stuff.
cases, for the most part, transportation is available.
Yes.
The
that's
other-
good.
I can't
That's
guarantee
good to
it,
know.
but it
That's
is
good to know.
certainly an issue.
I know we didn't talk about it much, but on the virtual side of things, I can't speak to all districts, but and I don't, you know, Florida Virtual is there for even our own students that are with us that have to supplement courses. But Hillsborough Virtual is a strong program, so I know there's going to be some families that are able to have a parent at home and want their children involved with the online program.
Basically, for online learning, we think right now it's middle and up,
Correct.
but we'll get some clarification. So
Learning from Zoom is not the best, especially for younger age children.
No.
It's not for everybody.
it doesn't
that's
keep
for
hold their attention
sure.
like
Yeah,
it does.
it's a challenge. It's
older
a challenge
children.
for
Well,
many
yeah,
children.
and my knowledge is just from the kids in high school that have had that option. And you have so many parents working at home now that the ones that have had success, it's like mom set up her business office, and so do I. I go to this
Exactly.
room and we're in business mode, and it's happening.
So guys, that wraps it up. They're wrapping up everything around us, so it's getting a little loud. So I just want to say thank you, Alex. Thank you, Leah,
Sure.
for helping me today understand a little bit more
My
about
pleasure.
schools in the Tampa area. And yeah, thanks. Bye, guys.
All right.
Well, I think that was a really informative conversation. I hope you did too. I've got my sunroof open and I'm heading home taking care of this frog in my throat. So thanks everybody for checking out my channel. And if you like this content, really appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and that notification bell. That really helps me out a lot. And if you're looking to relocate to the Tampa St. Pete area, I'm your girl. All my links are below. Would love to hear from you. Jump on my calendar. Let's get a conversation going and we can actually continue this conversation about schools. I'd love to help you out a little bit further. So until next time, everybody, thanks again. Bye-bye.